Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in again to another episode of CivilianTacticalWeapons.com. Today's episode is actually going to be on the Caracals. The Caracals are handguns designed in the United Arab Emirates. This is the full-size Caracal, and this one here is the compact Caracal. A couple of uniqueness features about this. You will look at this that they do look very similar to the Steyr pistols, and there's actually some logical reasoning behind that. It actually comes down to some of the designers actually part of Caracal. So that's kind of where you look at. I don't know if you ever looked at any of the Steyr 9mm pistols. You'll notice that the feature sets look very similar. A couple of things to note about these Caracals is the sights are a little bit different than your average pistol. So for example, if you look at the rear sights on the full size, it's a dot on top of a dot. So your front sight creates a single dot, and then under it on the rear sight you can see, it may be hard to see in the video here, but there's a second dot here. So you actually have one dot on top of the other dot. I personally am not a big fan of these types of sights, just because when you're looking at quick reaction, I really like to just have, I don't have to think I need to concentrate on the top dot versus the bottom dot, then where does that top dot go, or is it the bottom dot that goes on the center of the target? It's sometimes going to go ahead and confuse your brain if you're used to shooting just regular, either a single dot or 3 dots off the back. Having the 2 dots on top of each other, personally I just don't like. Can someone get used to it if they're going to continually, this is going to be their service pistol and that's all they're going to shoot? Of course you can get used to it, but you know, I'd rather have something that's more uniform to the rest of the pistols that, you know, I may own. The other thing too is there is no rear sight adjustment on the Caracal. If you have to actually adjust for windage, you're going to have to actually push the front dovetail sight left to right to adjust. There actually isn't there's an adjustment on the rear. That's not really a showstopper, but it is a little strange. As far as reliability goes, this one here, the full size, we didn't have really any problems with reliability on these guns. The one thing I will note about this is the full-size trigger. I had some problems with this along with a couple other people, is the predictability of the reset of the trigger. So kind of to explain that for some people who may not understand exactly what I'm talking about, when you're firing a gun and you pulled the trigger back, the trigger has engaged. What I'm now doing is I'm going to let the trigger go forward, and you know, if this was regular action, the trigger would actually push forward. I'm going to let the trigger go up until it clicks to reset. So it would click to reset, and then I would just let it go just out far enough to reset the trigger. The strangest thing about this Caracal is it's not always 100%, you can't find that preset as cleanly as with other guns. So what's going to happen sometimes is you'll fire it, and you'll pull the trigger a second time and it doesn't go, but you've set the trigger preset out where you expect it to go the last time. And I had this problem maybe 1 out of every 50 shots or whatever, that the preset just seemed to change on the gun. The strange thing is I had that only on the full size. This one here is the compact. The compact, I had no problems with the trigger, which doesn't make any sense, the same gun, but a few of us noticed that there's the exact same issue with it. And the little compact one performed actually better. I had better luck shooting this, even having more accuracy shooting the compact than I did with the full size. The other complaint I had on the full size is it tends to kind of pinch the bottom of my finger gets kind of trapped with the way the trigger guard's set up. For some strange reason, I didn't have that problem with the compact. The compact has a different sight system than the full size. If you can look here from looking at it from the top, you can see that the front sight and the rear sight's actually in front of the ejector port, not all the way to the rear of the gun. This is kind of a uniqueness about it because there's not too many guns that actually have that feature set. So you just have the single front sight you're focusing in on. So you've got a very short, a very short distance here when it actually comes to your sight alignment. You know, is this better or worse? The adjustment's still the same. It's still that same front sight adjustment because this is all part of the frame. The rear sight is actually just part of the frame. It's not a removable sight. I actually didn't have any problems really shooting it though. I mean, I kind of like the design. However, you know, if you want to be able to, if you're someone who wants to customize it out, I don't know about that, to be honest. There's nothing you can really do with this besides possibly changing out the front sight on the gun. So you can't change out front, you can only change out the front sight. There's nothing really you can really do on the rear sight. Maybe paint the rear sight, have the rear sight drilled, but there's nothing you can really do as aftermarket type work. It's a very comfortable gun. It's a very comfortable gun. It's, at the end of the day though, when I compare this particular gun to other guns in the same category where this is competing with, so this is competing directly with other guns like the Smith & Wesson M&P, Glock 19s, Springfield XDs, at a price of around $600, which puts it really in line with all the other competing guns. Would I buy a gun from the United Arab Emirates before I would buy just a Glock 19 or a Smith & Wesson? Probably not. And that's kind of the thing that really kind of hurts this gun, is when you're kind of the last person to the dance. You know, kind of think of going to your prom. If you're the last person at the prom, you've got kind of slim pickings. So you've got to, if you're going to try to attract an audience, you really need to get in very, very competitively. I guess the best way of describing that is, remember, if any of you can remember back to the Springfield XDs before Springfield owned it, those exact same handguns without the Springfield logo on the side of it were $400 at the typical gun shows here in Texas, and they're able to really grab market share that way. At $600, you know, maybe you can find this down to $500. Even at those prices, I really would get a Glock over this, and that's kind of the problem. But that all being said, you know, I'm kind of concerned. You know, I can get parts for any other gun. What is the distribution method? How easy is it to find gunsmiths? How easy is it to get parts, springs, replacements, whatever? Will Caracal be around in five years? Those are all considerations you have to make when you're buying a new firearm. And I don't think for the price, and because it compares, it's not something that's drastically inventive or made any major roadblocks over just picking up one of the other guns I've said, I personally wouldn't pick this gun up. But you know, if you are looking for just something different because you already have some Glocks and maybe you have you know, the M&Ps or the Springfields or whatever, you just want something different, an interesting conversational piece, because heck, I can't think of any other gun from the United Arab Emirates. You may want to consider it though. I mean, it does shoot well. It's a very compact design. It's very easily concealed. It's pretty much the same size of a Glock 19, and shoots fairly accurate. But that being said, as far as, you know, aftermarket parts, I like to be able to change out triggers, stuff like that. There really isn't anything you can really do with the Caracal. So how you get it is how you're going to end up keeping the gun. However, most of you viewers may never modify a gun anyways. So out of the box, this is a decent gun out of the box. I wish they would have put, my biggest gripe about this is the back straps. I really like a gun that I can adjust the size of the gun to my hand. So really, one of the key features this gun is missing is adjustable grips, which is really becoming standard on most modern firearms these days. Anyways, if you have any questions, please email me at info@civiliantacticalweapons.com, and I hope to see you in a future episode.